Why are therapists and psychologists so notoriously bad with taking criticism, resolving interpersonal conflict, discussing their own interdepartmental issues like in a mature way? This is a trend all across the world. I've taught at 6-7 different therapy programs, and I see it constantly. On the one hand, our mental health field, talks a lot about being able to resolve conflict in a mature manner, listening to both sides of the story, I statements, somatic practices. But when it comes into their own lives or with peer-to-peer disagreements with colleagues, with departmental heads, the level of emotional immaturity at display becomes so high that a lot of people in the department then start to lose trust on what that therapist is trying to preach. And then many years later, it reflects in like client feedback and client stories that something's wrong, something's not fully integrated in my therapist's life. Like she or he or they are saying one thing, but like it looks like they believe in something completely different. And the more ideologically rigid a therapist is, the more I see this. They'll find some niche of the world, whether it's far left ideological activism, and they'll get stuck to that as their identity. They'll build their entire brand around it, or they'll go far right and then they'll try to build their entire brand around that kind of modality of healing and trauma. And then they will not work with other people, they will, who don't agree with them. They'll cut off from all their friends who disagree with them, and they become so rigid. Now, they will say one thing and do another. And I get this client feedback all the time that people went to this therapist and that therapist, and they kind of really felt like they couldn't expand their mind beyond that box that the therapist wanted them to believe in, just because she or he or they believed in that box. Now, this used to not be the case 10 years ago, and now slowly, as the politicization of everything, right, this hyper political discourse that's come over social media, especially some circles, this is becoming more and more a problem. And there are two things I notice all across the world. One is, and this is something, for public psychoeducation, therapists are human. Like, they will have their shadows. They're not going to be like cool, chill people all the time. However, a lot of therapists and healers come into this field with their own trauma. They come in to the field to heal their own trauma. Somebody's been through the bad breakup, they want to be a couples therapist. Somebody's been through like rape trauma, they want to be a sex therapist. Someone is like lost an important like a life relationship, they want to come in and like solve it for the world. This is all fine, although it is emotionally immature. It is fine because it's how you grow in the field. It's like, somebody wants to become an artist and they think that, cool, I'm just going to be Picasso, and like that's kind of immature. Like, you have to go through a whole life and a training and ups and downs and all that. So that's fine, normal. What happens is artists do learn and evolve through their work because a good artist, something teaches them that the fantasy of what I thought this field is going to be to what the reality is are two different things. And then you notice that, okay, this artist is really good because they are now more realistic, they are more grounded. Versus sometimes what happens with psychologists, therapists, and healers is that they just get out of a counseling program, find some cause, and then they just get stuck to that cause because they get a lot of applause. Now it's social media, follower count, client feedback. Great, my therapist is so ideologically aligned with me, wow, I have felt seen by her in ways I didn't feel seen by my mother, father. So this really impacts the therapist healer's ego. And if the therapist healer does not actually help themselves to go beyond these fallacies and shadows of the work, they are going to become extremely rigid internally about what their practice is. And you're going to notice it when you interact with them. Their own life seems to be not okay at all. They're not taking care of themselves. They've gone into politics as saviorism. They create this complete fantasy around who they are and what the world should be like. Very, very far away from what the world actually is like. And you see that there is a real resistance in these people to actually do their own work and move beyond their triggers. So this unfortunately was at least seen as a little bit of a problem a couple of years ago. Now, because social media has come up, there are these like gangs of people, and you see the drama between these gangs of people. I hear about it all the time, and it is scary. Like, it is scary that we have come to a point where it is now applauded to be emotionally immature. It is applauded to not resolve your differences because, you know, I am protecting my peace, versus actually trying to do your work. And, you know, you're a therapist or healer. There is a lot that will impact your body if you do not actually do your own inner work. So just a note, I've been seeing this everywhere. Thought I should talk about it. Bye bye.